everyone. I hope you all can hear us, see us. We apologize for the delay, having a little technical difficulties, but we are starting now. Welcome to the Queen's Tea. This is the first edition of the Queen's Tea. We are the Queen's Company. I thank you all for joining us tonight. It's Sunday. You could have been anywhere else. So if you guys are here with us, we definitely appreciate the love. My name is Amenze Enoma. I will be facilitating this discussion today, and we have some lovely ladies here that are going to be on the panel with for this discussion today. But before I start, I want to go into a little spiel about the Queen's Co. And the purpose of this event tonight. Well, first of all, I would hope that all of you know everything about the Queen's Co by now if you're watching this. Like, I would assume. But in case you guys need a little refresher, let me just remind you guys. Queen's Company is a women's empowerment organization specifically for women of color. Now, this is not because we're intentionally choosing to exclude women who aren't of color. So please don't take it like that. But we just want to support ourselves. You know, in this world, it gets to a point where if we don't look out for each other, it seems like nobody else will. And we know each other probably better than anyone else will because we have the same experiences being women of color. So we are probably the best people to support ourselves, and that's pretty much the goal of the Queen's Company. We try to support ourselves in various ways, whether it's through hosting events, whether they're social or educational events, whether that's having events so women can come connect and network with women that are like-minded, potentially doing things that we can collaborate on, whether that's sharing words of encouragement, words of wisdom, providing resources to each other. Any way we can connect as women, as young black women, not even young black women, even older women. We are inclusive, but as long as we are supporting each other, that's the mission, that's the goal. So that brings us to why we're doing this event, in particular, the Queen's Tea. Now, as women of color, we face many unique issues that our counterparts do not face. In an effort to create a sense of community in tackling these issues, we figured as the Queen's Company that we want to have these conversations and discussions about these various issues so we can share stories and tips about how we can deal with these issues. And the topic for this edition of the Queen's Tea is I'm a minority in my workplace. Okay, so as I stated earlier, my name is Amenze Enoma. I work in the human services field, so I'll be talking about my experiences in that field and in my job positions that I've had in that field. And I will allow my wonderful panel to introduce themselves. Please,
yes.
To my left.
So I am Francisca. I work in a publication industry, corporate, and I am a digital strategist with email and social media.
My name is Jeaux. I'm a registered nurse, so I'm a nurse. I work in hospitals. I've had outpatient and inpatient experience, and I'll be sharing my experience with you.
Hi, my name is Breannah. I'm an academic advisor, and I currently work in higher education at Northeastern, and I'm extremely excited to be here tonight.
Yes, and we are extremely excited to have you all here with us. Breannah and Jeaux are not on the Queen's Co board, but they are active Queen's Company members, so we are happy to have them here to get their experiences. Francisca and myself are on the Queen's Company board, so we are representing Queen's Co from the top. So, all right, so we're just going to get right into it. Like I said, the topic of this Queen's Tea is I'm a minority in my workplace. That doesn't necessarily mean you're the only minority. You might be one of a few, but for the most part, you are surrounded by people that aren't of color at your job. And, you know, there's a lot of things that we deal with regarding being minorities in the workplace. Sometimes it can get pretty tough. Sometimes it's hilarious. Like, sometimes it's just funny. But other times it can get really, like, uncomfortable, so to say. So we're going to jump right in. I'm going to start off with my favorite topic that I love to deal with, our hair. So in my experience, it seems to me that there's a fascination with, you know, my hair and the fact that it's ever evolving, ever changing. and just very unique and very dynamic. And sometimes that fascination can come off a little much. Yeah, a little much. We'll say that, or sometimes plain rude. You know, so like what? I mean, you guys can feel free to tell me about any particular things that you've had happen with your hair. I just know that every time I come to work with a new hairstyle, it's like, call the press, stop the presses. Like, Amenze's changed her hair, and somebody's grubby fingers. Oh, sorry, maybe I shouldn't say that. Somebody wants to touch my hair, and it's just like, stop. It's just hair. But please feel free to share any experience that have in this.
So mine is actually really short. I've never really had bad experience with that. Like when my hair changes, it's just like, oh, it changes, whatever. But it was actually one time that recently with my new job, I just told you I work at, I had to do deep condition. Like I didn't have time to do it in the weekend. I had to do it during the week. So I had to put on a wig, okay?
That can be tough.
So yeah,
very tough.
Usually my hair's twisted and a dread, so it's like it's never out. But a wig, when you put on a wig, it's out, right? It's curly. They were like, oh my gosh, and immediately, and I was like, you could have just easily ripped out my wig.
Like, you this.
Yeah, and actually, what I actually did, it was at first it was like, oh, this finally happened to me because everyone's had this hair, and I immediately actually reached for her hair too. I'm not playing with you guys.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like,
I've never tried that.
I mean, your hair, like, did you do something to it too? Yeah, it was because it was like
That's a nice tactic.
it was like that was weird, huh?
Yeah.
You felt weird, didn't you?
And I when you sitting there like
tried
this.
that one. Yeah, I never tried that. Wow. Okay.
That's the only one I have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, so I was saying earlier, so I had braids recently, so my hair was in twists. I'd gotten Senegalese twists, and I had them in for about 2 months, and I took them out this past weekend. So then I go to work, and my hair is now out, and it's curly, and one of my coworkers, she says to me, she's like, did you cut your hair? And I just feel like that question overall is just a little strange, because it's like, why? I mean, I couldn't fathom it, maybe because I'm not her. I'm like, what would make you think that I cut my hair? Because I went from braids to twist. Like, you know, maybe because it was longer, but like, obviously, like, it was extensions. Like, in some point or another, like, I would know, you know?
I feel in a way, like, do you want me to tell you that's extensions?
Yeah, and, you know, I feel like that's what it comes off as. Like, they want to be educated on, because they don't understand it, but they don't know how to ask.
Yeah, they don't without sounding like little.
Yeah.
But I think the craziest thing of it all is that you knew me before I got braids in my hair, and my hair is now the same length after I took my braids out. Like, nothing has changed. And I just think that's just crazy. And then the funniest thing about it is one of my coworkers comes up to me because she was standing there, and she goes, what is wrong with her? She's like, even I knew. Like, she was like, I'm a white girl. Like, I knew. Like, why didn't you know? I was like, that's a good question, girl. You should go ask her. Like, I don't always have to be the one to defend myself. Like, maybe if you say something, it will resonate more with her than me saying it.
I feel as though that was a teaching moment. I feel like we're going to drop the word teaching moment a lot, because a lot of this is teaching moments. And I'll ask you guys how you feel about, I've been approached, because I'm not the only black nurse. There's a bunch of very seasoned, awesome, different, all kinds of nurses, anesthesiologists, obstetricians, what have you. It's great. So we're very well represented. So we have those, but very randomly, and it's in like mixed different groups. It's not like there's one corner of us that's like the black nurses and the white nurses. And especially me being young, like I try not to do that. But we have a lot of people, and I think it's just a people thing, that are like, well, I'm in like a interracial relationship, and I get it. Like, you know, like, how do you do your niece's hair? Like, that kind of thing. To me, I've been approached that way. So I don't know if you guys have ever been, and it's, like, been on more than one occasion. Like, what do you use? Because, you know, I think it's kind of a positive. Because they want to mimic their child.
But I think you can tell when it's that. Yeah. And in those situations, you know, feel free to, you know, do. But in other situations, I think we know when it's just like.
When I think the situation, when they reach out, and that's when it's like, that is
big
not okay.
It's not okay.
Ask me anything you want, but like,
don't just
that
touch.
is not okay.
And even when they ask to touch, that kind of makes me feel uncomfortable too because it's like,
what is it gonna do for you?
Yeah. What do you want to?
I always wanted to touch.
Like I thought we were past like the whole sensory thing. That's preschool, you know, when you're like touching everything to like figure it out. Like no, it's just so weird to me.
So that to me, I just feel like that's. But I get it, and I give them like the benefit of the doubt, and I love to take those opportunities. But I remember being in middle school or even younger, teaching, you know, the white girls in my like about braids, extensions, and they didn't realize that us getting weaves was the same thing as them getting extensions. They knew all about extensions, but they didn't know that it was the same thing as a weave.
Yeah.
And I remember educating so many of them, like, you know, it's the same thing.
And how do you feel? I really connected with that right now because you felt like when we were teaching those girls how to braid, like, this is how you braid. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
1 and 2 and 3 and
So I actually had that experience in college. So I went to Greece and I was the only black girl. I felt like I was the only black girl in the country, honestly. Like little kids were like looking at me like, "What are you?" But the girls were washing their hair every day because we were walking, and I was like, "I washed my hair before I went on this trip, so I'm good until I go back home." And so you know, I just had to tell them like, I don't have to wash it because you guys have more oily hair and this and that and da da. So. I don't mind teaching. It's just the whole reaching in
And grabbing.
I mean, my whole thing is like, I don't think anyone can understand the power of just appreciation of your hair. Like I have one coworker, and she's the only coworker I might consider calling a friend because she genuinely says to me, "Breannah, I like your hair. It looks really nice." And I'm like, "Thank you. That's all I need." Like for you, and well, I don't even need you to tell me you like my hair, but like by you complimenting me, it just goes to show that you're like just appreciative of the fact that my hair just looks nice.
And you agree it looks nice, and someone else agrees it looks nice.
Exactly. So it's just appreciation. You don't have to be like, "I like your hair, but you know X, Y, and Z." Like just compliment and walk away.
Yes, that's okay. So I would just like to say that based on the conversation we've had, I think knowing which situation you are in regards to dealing with people being so fascinated with your hair in the workplace will help your reaction and your response to this. So we should, as women of color, should be aware that it's not always coming from a negative place. And we don't want to seem like those girls that are just so quick to attack. So I think paying attention and being aware of what situation you're in will help you react. And if you see that you have the opportunity to teach, please take that opportunity. Teach and educate somebody. Please do it. Please.
You'd be surprised. Once they know something, it makes them feel really happy. So now they're going to go tell their friends, like, "Look what I know that you don't know."
And then you'll see that fascination with your hair changing all the time. I bet you it won't be that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, because they will finally have an understanding. So seeing, like, for example, with me, when I got this haircut,
Which is a beautiful
thank you.
Yeah, very good.
When I got this haircut, the people at my workplace had gotten so like educated about my hair and how much it changed that no one even reacted initially. Like they just like saw me come in and go, "Oh, Amenze's here." And then after a while, it was like, "Wow, like your haircut is great. Like that's great." But like it wasn't that whole, "Oh my goodness," and reaching, because I had already spent so much time letting them know, like, yes, I changed my hair. I'll have braids today. I'll have a fro tomorrow. Like I took the time to do that. So now I can come in, I feel like, with any kind of hairstyle and they get it.
Yeah.
So I've now changed that dynamic in my workplace. So
speaking of dynamic, it's funny how hair is about to connect with dynamic for me, but like at my job, or I think in my workplace in general, you have like this hierarchy of people you feel like can't talk to a doctor, like, "Oh, I don't want to ask the doctor this," or you have those nurses, those older nurses who are like, "Only call a doctor so-and-so, when you said you can call me Jim," type thing. So like some people are afraid to talk to the higher ups or, you know, people, but if we're the same age, if I'm 26 and you're 26 and you're a doctor and I'm a nurse, we can have regular conversation. Right, so with the splashes of color and all over the, you know, the ladder of nurses, doctors, secretaries, whatever, a lot of our higher ups are African American and young African American women that are not from Massachusetts, they're from Atlanta, from Chicago, like they're not from here. They're beautiful women, and you know, aside from talking about a woman that's like hemorrhaging over here, like we'll stop and be like, "I love your hair. We all should cut our hair. Like, let's talk about it. Like, what have you been using? Like, showing each other like cuts on Etsy and stuff like that. But let's also talk about." And I think that's a great connecting moment for those other girls. Like, we're, you know, you're not alone type thing. So I Hair.
Yeah.
I mean, hair's huge, and I think we could literally have this whole conversation about hair.
Right.
But we have plenty of other topics to discuss, so we're gonna move right on. Let's see. Let's talk about how sometimes there's sort of a doubt or a shocked reaction that we are intelligent and we can articulate ourselves in a way that measures up or surpasses our fellow coworkers, and then you get that like whoa, moment.
So
let's get
Francisca.
Yeah, go ahead. So my recent job, I've been there for 2.5 years now, and I would say all my experiences of being Black in the workplace has come from that. So recently we got a new director, so that's like 3 levels above me.
Yeah.
And my boss was like, yeah, we're going to speak to you. He's going to call you in and speak to you, whatever, and you're just going to say these points. Just this is what you should talk about. I'm like, okay, fine. I'm cool. I mean, I'm just talking about me. So when we actually had our call, I spoke to him. I was just like, yes, this is what I do. This is what I do. This is what I like to do. This is what And at the end of the call, she called me and said, wow, Freya, that was awesome. I didn't know you can... What? And I was sitting there like... I was talking. Like,
very basic.
Like, it wasn't even a presentation.
Yeah.
I was literally just speaking and telling him about what I do, and she was just like, Fred, I didn't know. Oh my gosh, like she was genuinely shocked.
What do you know?
And when I do presentations, because usually she takes the presentations, and I'm like, fine, whatever. I mean, we're on a call. We're not even in a room. But when I actually take over a presentation, she calls me every time after and just like, Fred, that was really good. That was
still shocked.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you're gonna have to stop saying that. Like, it's very clear that I can speak. How else did I get this job? How else would you hire me? I spoke the same way that I'm speaking now. Yeah. It's just, I mean,
I have a thought on maybe why it's like that. I know obviously this isn't something that is heavily practiced as it might have been back in the day, but that whole idea of affirmative action probably might still be having its effects on us today, because back then it seemed like that was in place to give people of color a leg up, or
somewhat of an opportunity,
because we didn't have any opportunities.
Exactly.
But now today it's expected that we as people of color understand that we have worked our butts off and have grinded to get to these places and these positions, and nobody's handing us anything. But maybe it's our white counterparts that still kind of have that in the back of their mind that, somebody just did you a favor.
Yeah. Yes.
But I think the most interesting thing about that too, when I look at my life, is I grew up in public schools. All day, every day, public schools. I went to UMass Boston, which is a state school. Like, my whole life has been public/state/Black people. Like, I've always been around people that look like me. And I'm like, not once did I step out of that and like attend a private school where I was around a majority of white people. So this voice of mine, or my pronunciation, or whatever the case is, comes from my intelligence. Like, I'm just a smart woman, and I'm not. That doesn't go to say that someone who's not smart or is just as well. I don't really know, but I'm gonna end it with this. That it just comes from a place of like educating myself, and I want to go far in life, and unfortunately, this is like not the world that supports us, so we have to find ways to navigate that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I've had some experience where, again, just being young and Black and a female, and walk into a patient's room. Sometimes people don't know what your title is, and for safety reasons, a lot of people, when you see under their badge it says MD, or you see under their badge it says RN, or you see under their badge it says LPN, or you see under their badge it says CNA, it's not just to tell you exactly who the person that's taking care of you. If there's an emergency situation, you don't want to waste time being like, who is the such and such in the room? Like, it needs to be clear.
Yeah, you need to know.
So sometimes you walk into someone's room and you're like, all right, like, I feel I've had a bunch of experiences where people just automatically assume I'm just the aide or the tech, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, I'm taking care of you, like, you're under my care for the next 12 hours,
That's
like,
right.
we'll be together, like, like, you can
Let's
have some big burly, like, tatted up, like, ex-sailor, like, I don't know what your views are on anything, but I'm taking care of you, like, that's how it is, and I face that a lot, and I've gotten over it, and I've, made some teaching moments out of that.
So I guess I would just like to say, what are some things that maybe you guys have done to combat this particular issue, like in your workspaces? Have you, or do you just let it pass, thinking it'll blow over? Like,
I actually need to stop letting it pass. I actually just be like, yeah, I know what to say. That's why
LOL.
Yeah, LOL.
Yeah.
But moving forward, I'm definitely going to tell her, like, Laura, I do know how to do these presentations. I did this for school. This is what I do outside of work. I actually do something else on the side where I have to speak in front of people. So, Laura, it's not going to be so surprising when I speak. So I just got to tell her instead of just being like, haha, I know, right? I can't do that.
That only welcomes it.
Exactly.
And that only makes her feel like, you're surprised at yourself. So I know it's tough because we don't want to say the wrong thing. We don't want to, start dropping those trigger words that make our freaking, coworkers freak out, But I do think, having a voice is important and using a voice is important. And if it's something that you don't like and it makes you uncomfortable, you should have the right to speak on it.
Yeah, and it's not, and I agree with you. And I feel like it's also not about that making people, we all know we're over making people comfortable. Like, I'm just as qualified, I'm just as confident, I'm just as confident. I'm here to do the same skill or more that you are to do. So, you know what I mean? Like, if it makes Sally mad, it's gonna make me mad too. Like, it's the same exact thing. Like,
now we're just all upset.
Yeah, like, it's the same thing.
It's so definitely. Okay, so I actually have. I mean, I kind of told you guys about it earlier, but for the people tuning in, I will relay this story that one of our supporters shared with us on a Facebook page. She told us a very interesting story about how she shares the same position as another woman of color in her office, and she was the new hire. And instead of referring to her by her name, they just call her the new Keisha, or like Keisha number 2. Because these two women are the two black women that have the same position. So let's talk about how sometimes there's confusion over, confusing our names with the other black girl in the office, or even this situation where it's intentional neglect or ignorance about somebody's name and identity.
But that's when you have to ask yourself, like, is it really confusion, or are you just choosing to do this?
Right. I think in that situation, that's intentional, and that is absolutely just unacceptable.
Like, stuff like this is really starting to make me think that a lot of it is just to make us crazy. Like, they want us, you're just like, okay, well, what are we going to do to make Breannah upset today? How can we get a reaction out of her? Because we want this girl gone. Like, what are we going to do to, like, bring out that, like, like, that angry black girl? And I'm like, I'm never going to give you that. Because then when I do, it's like, now I look bad. We all look bad. Like, just, I can't do it.
I feel like whenever I feel I'm ever close, I'm a very level-headed person. But, like, I feel like whenever I'm close to that, and I feel like I can count on the palm of my hand how many times I've been close to that. Like, I don't let people get me that close. But I just always refer back to those teaching moments. Like, you know less. You don't know.
Right.
Or maybe it's something you admire. Or maybe it's something that you're just so surprised because you see something young, attractive, beautiful, like beautiful history.
Different.
And living up to their real potential that they're supposed to do anyway. And you're just like, wow, like, that is pretty great because you know it's right. So it's a moment. A moment.
I never really had an issue with another black person being called me. So, but that's crazy. Her story.
I mean, that particular story, girl. If you are watching this, whoa.
Yeah, that's
like. First, thank you for sharing it. But when I read it, I was like, oh, hell.
It's not even like the person, the old Keisha is gone. She's still there because I was just telling them earlier. Like we usually do that if the person has moved on. And
you're the new male.
So you're the new Kevin. He used to work here. Even if you were a female male, you're the new that. Until and then we're like, you're the new this. What's your name? Or, I guess that the fixing point or the way that someone could resolve that is by just saying, hey, just let you know, I am
such and such. I would like to be referred to as such and such. I am, I'm sorry, that was the angry black girl about to go. Really bad. Don't let them do that, guys.
Don't get even close to that, because my boss calls me Fran. And I only said Fran because it was like, you can call me Fran. That's cool. I actually don't like that name. I don't mind it. No. I know. I don't like it when they say it. I like it because if my friends say it, it's endearing because you're shortening it and it's like, you know my name. But she says it because Francisca is too hard to pronounce.
What?
Yes.
She said that one?
Yes.
No.
And it's like San Francisco? Like what? So that's the reason why I don't like it when my coworkers do it. But when my friends and family do it, I get it. It's because you know my name and it's just shortening. It's like, hey, shorten name.
I mean, here's my thing. I've heard plenty. I mean, it's never happened to me personally, but I've heard plenty of stories about, you know, someone getting called another person's name, you know, and like, I get it because, let me not pretend like I'm innocent. Sometimes I joke around and say, oh, all white people look alike. And all Asian people look alike. We all do it in some form. So nobody's innocent here. We're not going to play like we are. But it all comes down to, you know, this is your workplace. This is a place where you want to be felt like, you want to feel like you have the personality, individuality. You want to be treated as an individual. And if that's happening to you enough that you're noticing it, you know, there is no issue with taking a person to the side and just letting them know, like, look, right, you're always educate. Like, this is the world we live in. Like, before we used to just let this stuff slide. 2017, we educate. We have to do these things. That's so, I mean, that's just my advice. So anybody out there doing this?
I actually have one. I actually did do that to a white person. I actually missed, because they're both burly, like Santa Claus looking. Like, they had the salt hair and then the beard. And I'm like, oh, and one of them cut. I've seen both of them with the beard. And one of them cut the beard. And I was like, oh, you cut it. He's like, I did. Oh, yeah. No, it was kind of, I think he always had it cut for a while or something like that. And I just didn't notice. But I thought I was seeing the same guy. And he's like, no, wrong. I was like, don't you sit right? He's like, no. And I was like, okay.
Never mind.
So I was on the,
It's actually there's actually a term for it, and I wish I remembered what the name of the term is, but, you know, for confusing people of the same race for each other. Like, there's a word for it, and I saw it, and I should have just wrote it down. But there is, and it's like everyone does it. So it's like, this is not something that we're saying like, damn it, you white people, it's always you guys. No, we all do this. But I think in a workplace, if I can get to know each individual, what they look like, and be able to differentiate them by their names, because that's your God-given name. If I can do that for you, you can do that for me.
See, names are so important. Like, when I go grocery shopping or wherever I go, I always call the cashier by their name. Because you have a name tag for me. And I'm like, thank you, Michelle.
Yes.
I appreciate it. I'm like, yeah, I read your name tag. Yeah. Like, your name tags are there, that's so true. Use them.
Right.
Please.
Okay. We will, let's get into something heavy. Something that always feels, well, I won't say always. Some people have great relationships with their coworkers and feel like they can discuss these things. But discussing, you know, major issues going on in the world. So specifically like politics, especially with this past election, and even stuff like the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, how do you approach coming into your workplace, knowing that there are probably going to be some people that stand on the other side? Do you feel comfortable even having these discussions? And then how do you have these discussions without them turning into full-blown, like, judgment, where you're judging me, I'm judging you, and we're arguing, like, you know, I don't know if anybody has had experiences with these things.
So I have. I've had some pretty intensive experiences with one particular person. And, you know, I am the only Black woman in my entire office. So that makes it a little more difficult because conversations around Black Lives Matter weren't even had. We never spoke about it. You know, but we're talking about this giraffe who was giving birth to a baby. And I'm like, why are we talking about it? Oh, whatever. So I have had conversations with people, you know, not necessarily just around the president, but I did get a call. So the day after the election, I wasn't working, thank goodness. And one of my coworkers, who I can't stand, did call me, and she was like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And I sounded really sad. She's like, "Oh, why do you sound down?" I was like, "Because of everything going on in the freaking world." And she's like, "Oh, like Trump winning?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Oh, I mean, I don't really care, but like, I understand your pain. She's like, because, you know, I'm a woman too, so, like, I get it.
Do you?
And I'm like, okay, Satan, I get it. I'm like, no. I was like, so why'd you call me? And she's like, oh, you don't want to talk about it? I was like,
You
like,
just
why
didn't
did you
care.
call? Like, you called my phone, and you're being so rude. Like, what is going on with you? So that was just annoying because it's like, I feel a lot of the times they try to relate to me because we're all women, but I'm like, it's so much deeper than that. And they don't get it. Yeah. So that was like one altercation around this Trump thing, but I did have several others, but that was just really annoying.
I had multiple. So with my manager, I speak with her every day at 9:30 in the morning, okay? Because she's in another state. And she's very laid back. I think that's another reason, going back on I Speak Intelligent, because we speak in the morning freely. I think that's why she doesn't think I can talk like a professional. Anyways, so she is a Republican. And she's like, oh yeah, you know, Trump is not great, but Hillary's just not good at all. Like, you see these emails? Like, my husband works at this company, and he can't, you know, if he shared his email, he'd get fired. And I'm sitting here like, but do you understand what Trump is going to do? Like, are you serious? And she's just like, yeah, and you know, Hillary this, Hillary that, and she's saying all these things, and I have nothing to say. I'm like, I'm not going to say anything. One, we're over the phone, things could be misinterpreted, and two, you're my manager, and it's one of those things that you just don't bring to the table.
Right.
What is it? Religion, politics, and money.
Politics, yeah.
You know, why are you talking to me about this?
It's very personal stuff. It's very personal stuff.
And she knows. You would have to know. I am not, especially living in Boston. I am not a Trump supporter.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, she just regardless, she's in Florida, and that was I think that state went to Trump.
Red state.
Yeah.
Definitely a red state.
Man, I have a lot.
For
I
sure.
just feel like my job, like, it's very subtle because we're caring for people, and like no one walks on like you're
Just
going into the
having
Republican room in room 8. Are you okay with that? Like, you know, like we have people that don't like, you know, it's not like that. We don't. But when stuff is going down for real, like people are kind of coming out like, you know who was red, who was blue, and you could tell it, but it was very subtle. Like no one was like, I'm this, like the day after, like it was, you know, some people were like, things are gonna get a little easier now, and some people weren't saying anything. So I mean, it's very subtle because I don't know, we're not like corporate America, even though like the hospital is turning into a hotel.
Yeah,
but
That's
you know,
another
they are
conversation
that yeah, but yeah, it's just very subtle.
Yeah, one of the things my manager kind of stays in a box. She's like, well, just like what she said, your coworker, it doesn't matter to me, like it doesn't affect me. Same thing she says, even with the Black Lives Matter. She's just like, yeah, you know, maybe it's just because I live in a bubble and I just don't know. What are they talking about? Why are people getting So when the Black Lives Matter movement was happening, her sentence started off, she was like, it's crazy what's going on. And I'm like, yes. I'm like, wait.
And you thought she was on your side.
Yes. So she's like, it's crazy what's going on. I'm like, yeah, it is. I just can't believe it. And she's like, yeah, all these cops. And I was like,
Oh my gosh, I can't.
she was like, you know, they have to get suspended and they're dying because people are attacking them now. And I'm just like,
Jesus.
I was like, wait.
Well, that was a slap in the
What?
face.
Because I was there with her. I was like, yes.
Almost.
You know, and
Wow.
yeah.
I think that's a lot
And
of
she was just like, yeah.
When, oh my God, what's going on? And stuff.
And then she's like, the cops. And then I was like, yeah, but I actually had to say something then. And I was like, you got to understand, we have physical videos. Like, it doesn't look like they were doing anything. What do you think they were doing? She's like, well, maybe it's because I'm not in the situation or I wasn't there. I've never seen it happen. You know, she has a...
That's like blissful. That's
Yes.
like willful ignorance.
Yes. Like she chooses
You
to be
choose
ignorant.
to be
She's
that.
like, and she literally said, I'll just stay in my realm. Like, she lives in a gated community. She works from home. She's literally not out in the world. So it's like, every time she says something, it's invalid. Because it's like, well, I feel like you just stay home.
Yeah.
Seems like you only went out to vote. And that was it.
Yeah.
Right, apparently. To cast
So,
your red zone.
I know,
Right.
yeah.
For a world you know nothing
Yeah,
about.
and just like when
Oh my God.
what is it? When Trump blocked the immigrants from coming in or something like
Yeah,
that, or
the
kicking them out.
travel ban.
She was like, yeah, you got Obama did it, and nobody Obama did this, and people need to know. They need to read. I read on
So
Facebook.
you know everything about what Obama did,
Right,
but
and
you
then-
don't know nothing about what's
And
going
then,
on.
and then this was another topic, but then she goes, read Facebook. There's a Facebook article. There's an article on Facebook where this happened, and it's just like,
No.
You're not even
It's
getting no news
selective,
source.
it's selective educating. Like, you're selectively choosing what you want to know more about. Like, why don't you learn about what's going on?
yeah.
I mean, I'll give my take. I believe that in my in my particular workspace, everyone is very comfortable, for the most part. It seems that everyone is comfortable with everyone. Like, I am not the only person of color that works there, but we still are the minority, you know? So I know what conversations to have with my people, you know? And we will have those private conversations. You know, we will take some time. We know which ones to have and which ones not to have. But I always overhear, you know, the rest of the group having these conversations. You know, they're not afraid to speak, and I respect them for it. You know, they're not afraid to speak their mind. They're not afraid to say, you know, their opinions on certain things. But it's more or less just me making the choice that, you know, some of these conversations, like with the politics, with the Black Lives Matter, I make the decision that there's no way you're ever going to really understand it from my point of view. Ever. Like, I don't, and maybe it's unfair, maybe I'm not giving you much of a chance, but that's just a decision that I'm choosing to make, and that's why I choose not to jump in when I overhear them having, because they talk about it. They're not afraid, and I'm sure they would value my input, but I'm just the type of individual, I like to keep my personal life personal. And a lot of these topics with the politics, who I voted for, it's passionate, it's personal, it comes from a deeper place, and I just make the choice to just not, you know, not do it. That's just me. I mean, everybody's different. You all can. I just know myself. And I'll use this to actually segue into the next topic, but I can be that angry Black girl. Like, it's there. And everybody who knows me personally knows that when I get going, I get going. And that's why I have to keep my personal life away from my job, because the perception of me will change. Like, I believe the quality of my work will probably be questioned. You know, like everything will just start to just go up in smoke. You know, and there have been moments where I've been tried, I've been tested, and it's come out a little bit, but I've had to reel it back in before, you know, it blew up, because we don't want to be seen as that angry Black girl. But
you had mentioned something. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you can finish.
I was gonna say, you mentioned something about them talking about things like right in front of you, and I think with the whole concept of the angry Black woman, you know, now it's gotten to a point where I'm just gonna be blatant about it. White people are pretty bold. Like, with the things that they say right in front of you, that they're not really sure how you're gonna take it. So, for example, we all went out for drinks, and at the end of the night, they were gonna go back to one of our coworkers' house who lives in Dorchester. She's a couple streets over from me. So it's funny because the guy who was there was like, "Oh, where do you live?" She's like, "I live in Dorchester." He was like, "Will I be safe?" And I'm sitting right there, and he knows I live in Dorchester. He knows I was born and raised in Dorchester. I would never come for New Hampshire right in front of you, knowing that you live in New Hampshire, because I can come for New Hampshire, but I'm not gonna do it. But for you to blatantly say, "Will I be safe?" It's like, I'm sitting right here, bro. Like, what's up? You know, and then it's like, when I do make that comment, it's like, whoa, like, why are you so mad?
Why are you mad?
Why are you so mad? Like,
why are you so
why
upset?
should I not be mad? You know, like, that's the better question. Like, what about what you said should have made me angry?
Right.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
It's so annoying.
My manager knows when she brings this up too, because she continues to talk about it, and she goes on rants, you know, and I'm just sitting here, and she's like, "Well, you probably aren't, you're not a Trump supporter, aren't you?" I'm like, "No." She's like, "Yeah, okay." And I'm like, "So what else do you need me to do today?" Like, you know, so it's like, you know, so why continue?
So why are you doing it? Why are you continuing? I mean, like I said, with my coworkers, I think it's because they truly, because that's the kind of job it is. Everybody's very inclusive. They, you know, everybody's welcoming. Everybody's comfortable with each other. So they probably would really want to hear what I have to say and how I feel about certain things. And I acknowledge that, which is why when I do choose to speak with them, I give them a little, you know, I'll give them a little bit, but I can't ever really give them all of it, you know?
And I've been asking myself lately, like, why don't I connect with my coworkers? And I realize it's because we just don't have anything to talk about. Unless I'm educating you on, like, Black Lives Matter or whatever. I don't watch The Bachelor. I'm sorry.
There's a
I just no shame to whoever watches
I watch Insecure. We can talk about
that. No, there's a couple of my coworkers
that do watch Insecure too.
What?
I'm like,
That's lit. None of mine ever heard of it. They're
But
like,
at the same time, I'm like, what are you connecting with? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
like, why are you watching it? Wait, Jay. No, that's Awkward Blackout.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like I don't watch the same things. We don't like the same things. Like we don't connect. That's why we don't talk. And I'm not gonna like change.
You don't have to voice
And I
it.
know a lot of people's experiences are different. Like I know, I don't know if I can say her name, but she's right there. She actually had experience where the people at her job comforted her the day after the election. Like everybody was just like, they had like a healing day. Like everyone cried and was like, I came to this white, black, I don't know who else was in her thing. But the fact that it's not all bad. So it's good that she had that.
Solidarity.
Yeah. The fact that she had that safe space, because that was a terrible day after.
No, I
mean, not a terrible day, but you know, it was
for some of us, it was a horrible day.
Yeah.
You know, very bleak, cloudy day.
Literally.
Oh, it was.
Literally.
I think it rained for like a whole week.
It's still raining.
No, I mean, but in all honesty, basically, actually, just the whole angry black girl topic actually ties into everything we've discussed. Like, how do you address all of these topics without seeming like, you know, the angry black girl? You know, because even sometimes when you're not angry, somebody's quick to put you in that box. Somebody's quick to put you in that bubble. You know, so I think that for some of us makes us unwilling to speak up when we've been wronged or disrespected or treated unfairly, you know, and I feel like it's all about finding the balance and just learning how to you know, speak in certain situations
and also being able to just be real, like
about
how you really feel. That's why we have feelings and emotions.
We are humans.
Yeah. I was sitting in a meeting with my teammate, and this other lady comes in, and we're talking about something, and I'm trying to speak to this lady, but she wasn't understanding anything I was saying. So when the coworker would translate for me, then she'd be like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense," and I'm like, "I just said that," and then she's like, "Oh, well, you know, you seem frustrated." I'm like, you're not gonna tell me I'm frustrated. I'm not frustrated. I'm okay. And like, I think you have to let people know what your emotions are because they're gonna assume.
Yeah.
And if you don't correct them, then it's just like they get away with it. But I'm not frustrated. You're not gonna label me. You know? So like that's annoying. Piece of advice.
No, definitely. Like we all experience these things in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So I mean, I hope by sharing these stories and everybody, you know, telling about their personal issues, everybody can hopefully take something away from this. And that's the purpose of this tea. Like, you know, we're spilling the tea, but we're also comforting each other, advising each other. And, like, that's, like, really the whole purpose of this whole thing. So,
when it comes to the angry black girl, I actually, so I'm not
an angry black girl.
Yeah, I think people can, I'm not. I would like to think.
Hey. Public service announcement.
Some of us
are all angry.
I would like to think that. And, if anything, I'm just really honest, and I'm a very honest person. But when people see me off the jump, like when they finally get to know me, my coworkers is like, "Wow, I didn't know you were just so. You're always happy. You're always smiling." And listen, I'm like, "Wait, what? Okay, did you think I was?" She's like, "Yeah, you seemed a little off-putting before." And yeah, and I was just like, "Well, what? You just smile down the hallway? just hey,
yeah, so that's pretty much what.
It's okay. No, like
what?
No. So even coming off as an angry black person, just looking at you, they're just like.
I just feel as long as you, whether you face an angry black girl situation or not, or if your day gets effed up by some type of situation, I feel however you fix yourself after and however you feel after that situation, if you're not, you fix you after. And then continue on about your day. Continue on about your work. Do that work that you do every day. You're qualified. You're supposed to be there. You were hired. There's no other extra thing you have to do. You're already there. You know what I mean? So just you keep on. You fix you. It's okay to be selfish at work and not share those things and just keep on.
And I think something that definitely helps too is decorating. How your space looks and how your space feels is definitely going to help you. You know, like I have an office, which I'm very fortunate to have, and I've set up my office strategically in a way where everything around me represents blackness and things that I believe in. Another one of my coworkers has a cubicle, and she set it up with her favorite like role models and famous quotes and things that are going to remind her that like this isn't my life. I just come here from 8:30 to 4:30 while I try to figure out what's next. So like unless this is like
but that's low key a very good I do that every day.
Yeah.
Like I remind myself, like, girl, this isn't it.
This is a
Like,
yeah,
like this is your destiny, girl. Like, it's
decorate your space. Let it remind you that like you're in here now, but you gotta go. Like this is me. So
remind yourself, and you're an asset to wherever you go. Whether you go to work, you put your dollar anywhere, or you're working and clocking anywhere.
Yeah.
They're lucky to have you.
Yeah. Seriously.
They're lucky to have you. If not, you'd be fired. They wouldn't care, but they're lucky to have you.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, I think we're running low on time here, but I would just like to give everybody a moment to maybe speak on maybe the most important thing you took away from this discussion. If you can think of something, just share it with everyone, and any last piece of advice you may have.
I definitely think being vocal and expressing how you're feeling, being very clear and asking people to be very clear when in situations of any of the topics that we spoke about. But definitely being vocal and just not letting things pass by. Because I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, I'm done saying okay, lol, okay. I'm done with that. That was not okay.
And I mean, that's not your fault, because I think that you're that happy person. That is who you are.
Right.
So, by default, that's the reaction you had. But
moving forward.
I take away that, again, we're not alone in these thoughts that we have. Like, even though you're the only black girl in the office, you're not the only black girl that's the only black girl in the office. Like, you're not alone in it. So, just keep on. Like, it's okay. It's okay. You know, you do it.
yeah, and my takeaway from this is that to kind of go based off of what you had just mentioned about just because I feel like I'm the only black girl in the office, or I literally am, I'm not the only one in the world in this position. And I think because I'm at a big college like Northeastern, I have to reach out and further my networks and find other women on campus or other men on campus who look like me, and have these conversations, and that way we can start like forming some type of like bond and like realization that this isn't it, and like we're gonna work together and we're gonna go further. So definitely expand your network and
get everything you can out of it.
Exactly.
Don't make it suck for you.
And hang with beautiful black women and just be free and be happy and chill.
I concur with everything that was said. I don't want to be repetitive, but that's all facts. And for me, the biggest takeaway, even though we might not have said this, is if you're ever in a situation and you don't like it, do not be afraid to change your situation. Like that's
never be complacent.
That's the biggest piece of advice I can give anyone. You don't have to be in any situation you don't want to be in. Like, always remember that, like, in the back of your mind. Like, it's not by force that you're working where you are. Like, don't get me wrong. Maybe that is your dream job, but maybe that's not the job that was destined or preordained for you.
Right.
So take that sign, understand, that voice in the back of your head, probably for a reason, and don't be afraid to change your situation,
Don't
so
force feed yourself a job. I've only been there for 6 months. Who cares? What do you mean? It's all right. They're not going to ask you really why you were there for 6 months.
Okay. Don't be afraid. But that is honestly, this flew by. Wow. That is pretty much all we have. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us today, for everybody who tuned in. I would like to thank the panel. You guys were great, awesome. Really appreciate your contribution.
Thank you. Should we do it to
Yes!
I feel like we should do it to
I try. Oh yes, definitely. It was great. I tried. Okay. But yeah, so for those that were tuned in, we hope that you found this discussion insightful, entertaining, relatable. We hope you took lots of great points and tips from this conversation. I would like to on a Sunday. I would like to just let everybody know, if you're not already following Queen's Company on our social media accounts, please follow. We're on Facebook at Queen's Co. period. So Queen's CO period. On Instagram, we're at queens.company. We have our signature event that is coming up on May 8th called the Queen's Dinner.
Just bought my ticket.
Just bought my ticket. The Queen's Dinner is approaching. Seriously, it's an amazing, spectacular night. Picture this on steroids. What we just did tonight, like on steroids. So please, we just love for all of you guys to purchase a ticket. Tickets do sell really fast. Tickets are available on Eventbrite. If you follow our Instagram page or Facebook page, you'll be able to find links to purchase a ticket. So please do. I'd ask that you please stay tuned for the next edition of the Queen's Tea, where we will be tackling the ever so popular topic of relationships.
Oh,
so that's going to be a good one. It might honestly have to be longer than an hour.
I know.
But so please stay tuned for that. That is all for now. And please remember to never be afraid to spill the tea. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Have a good week.
Bye.
Oh, that was awesome.